Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Trying to get my picture up here. Add videos. Add self view. Start video. All right, here we go.
There you are.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Everybody snowed in.
Yeah.
Morning.
So Lawrence was out early this morning.
Terrence is my camp, right? We don't have a quorum yet, right?
I don't believe so.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Wait.
You need one more person.
Right.
will it be?
So we're snowed in here in Kentucky, but it's thankful we're not in Texas where everything's going to hell in a handbasket as it relates to power and heat and everything else.
Yeah, you're right about that. We are so blessed. So blessed.
We're about to be there. Just a minute.
Okay.
And Commissioner Randolph said she was going to try to join by audio only.
Okay.
Good morning.
Morning, Miss Cynthia. Mm-hmm.
I think we now have a quorum. So with that being said, I'd like to call to order the February 18th, 2021 meeting of the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights. With an executive director, we need a confirmation of the quorum as well as a confirmation of the public notice.
We do have a quorum and notice was sent out.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is public participation. Do we have any requests from anybody from the public to speak?
I would like to speak.
Okay, and the nature of your comments and to which issue are you speaking?
I'm requesting information pursuant to the Open Meetings Act and the documents that I distributed to the executive director for distribution to the commissioners at the last meeting, please.
An open meetings request that you submitted? Who did you submit it to?
I submitted documents to be distributed to the commissioners for review at the last public meeting. Pursuant to the Kentucky Open Meetings Act, I was able to be there and present documents for them to review. I've asked several times to know if those documents have been distributed to all commissioners for review, and I was told they were not.
I guess I'm trying to follow where, because you submitted it pursuant to the open meeting, you appeared at the meeting.
All due respect, sir, I told you during the meeting that I had documents to be distributed. You instructed me to email those to Director Sullivan for review. I did so. They were never distributed to the commissioners. I believe it is a violation of the Open Meetings Act. I know when other individuals have come to board meetings, when they were in person, their documents were distributed, even if they were illegible. I'm just asking to be treated fairly as everyone else has that has come before the commission with documents for them, with information for them to review.
Okay, well, we will follow up on that. Is there anything else?
The follow up as far as, are you declining to acknowledge that you received them?
I am not in receipt of anything.
I'm sorry. I can provide you with an email from Director Sullivan. He said to me that he would review them within the week after the last meeting with you.
Well,
which I feel is a conflict because they are relative to you and Mr. Sullivan.
Ms. Grace, we will follow up. We will follow up with that, and we will deal with that. And if that's all you have, then
thank you. I just ask that all the commissioners please ask to see these documents. They're information that you need. Please ask to see them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is
I have a question. How come we haven't gotten those documents? Why haven't we? She's acknowledged that she sent that to Terrence. How come we haven't gotten those, Terrence?
Well, at this point, I have not seen them. As I said,
no, you haven't. I'm not.
We will follow up and get and make certain that everything that we have is in fact distributed to you to what we have. So I think that's.
Well, can I ask the question though? I mean, wait a minute. I'm asking Terrence. She said she submitted to him, not you, but to him. How come we haven't gotten those documents? We're blowing it off like, you know, I mean, why come we haven't gotten the documents? If she requests they be distributed, is there a reason why they have not been yet?
So in the last meeting, what we discussed was I would take those documents that she sent and share what they were, and then the determination will be made if they needed to be shared again to the commissioners. They're all things that you already have. And so that was why. And so I did check. So, and we can talk about
Well,
that further.
again, I would
But-
request though. I would like to request those if there's not a problem for me to get
Okay.
those. I mean, if she's requested that they be distributed, and you're saying we keep getting back with it, and we haven't gotten those documents, why have we not gotten them? I would request.
We will
Chairman
get
Burris.
those. We will get those to you.
Okay,
Chairman
thank
Burris,
you.
Yes, Commissioner
may I
Smith.
ask a question? How did Ms. Grace know that the commissioners had not received it? Who did you ask to find out that the commissioners had not received it?
You're on mute, Mr. Sandra.
Let's unmute her.
You're on
Okay.
mute. You're on mute, Sandra. Yes. Okay.
Thank
yes.
you.
Who did you ask?
They had muted me. I was on mute actually from the actual monitors of the meeting. Just like last meeting, I did not leave the meeting. I was removed
I
from the
just
meeting.
asked a question.
they
If you
removed
could
me.
just answer the question.
Sure, if you could
I
be
asked
polite,
you.
Mr. Burris, it would be very appreciated. I'm not here to be an enemy of the commission. I'm a friend. So please be civil. The reason that I was aware is I actually was emailing Mr. Sullivan this morning. I've asked by email multiple times if the documents had been distributed. The answer that I received this morning from Mr. Sullivan when I asked if all commissioners had received all documents was no response. That's how I knew that they did not get them. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, so the request has been made and those will in fact be distributed. So we'll
They should have been distributed without request,
Miss-
but thank you.
Ms. Grace, you're out of order.
I believe you are, sir.
Uh,
I apologize. I want to take a moment and state that we did not have a quorum, I believe, until just now when Commissioner Cheney had joined us. We were only at 5 commissioners.
No,
We only have-
we were at 6.
Yeah,
We were at
The
six.
chair counts as 1.
and yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the consideration and approval of the minutes of the January 21st meeting. You are here, we have a motion regarding the approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that those minutes be approved. Is there any further discussion regarding those minutes? Hearing none.
Mr. Burris, excuse me, I was muted. I did have a question about the minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
If I can find it quickly. Yeah, it had to do with Commissioner Cheney's, it said that she requested a forensic audit. Let's see if I can find it real quick. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, it's on page 15. Commissioner Cheney requested a forensic audit occur following that all commissioners review. I don't think that's accurate because in fact, we'd already had an audit that was done. So that just needs to be checked and corrected.
Okay, I'm looking, I guess that should be corrected. What she requested was that there be a written response in regards to the recommendations in that audit. I think that's what she asked for, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right, Commissioner Cheney?
It is, yes, sir.
Okay.
I would ask for one other slight adjustment in the comment regarding personnel actions. The precursor comments were in relation to the prior executive director and not the current board chair. So if that could be corrected as well. With regard to going into closed session to discuss personnel matters, that would be applicable to the citizens' comments related to a prior employee.
Okay. We'll make those two corrections. Are there any others?
Can you repeat the second one? the second correction or write it in the chat?
Yes, the citizen comments were in relation to a prior employee, at which point I interjected that if we were going to discuss personnel issues, we should go into closed session. The minutes make it appear that I made that recommendation in relation to comments about Chair Burris.
Okay, are there any others? Hearing none, I will assume that as the person who made the motion to approve the minutes, as well as the person second, will accept those as friendly amendments to the minutes.
I make a motion we accept the minutes and accept the information that was given on the amendments.
Okay. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. It's been moved and second that the minutes be approved as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are in fact approved. Next item on the agenda is the Executive Director's report.
So good morning, everybody. Wanted to start my report with an update. Altita retired at the end of last month, and she will definitely be missed here. We wanted to thank her for her over 25 years of service to the agency. And we sent her a little something. I don't know if she has it with her, but we invited her to this meeting.
Oh, there it is. Good.
Oh, wow. Nice.
To make sure that, we wanted to publicly acknowledge her and thank her for her service. And I think, Cynthia, if you wanted to share what you had before we moved along, and then if anyone wanted to jump in and say anything to Altita, and then we can let her go so she doesn't have to stay on this right now. But thought we'd start that so she didn't have to hang on and wait.
Okay, Altita, I'm glad you're here today. Still good to see you. As Terrence said, effective February the 1st, 2021, Altita is retired from state government, and Altita has been with the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights for 25 plus years. She's been a strong and committed employee. We just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge her and to acknowledge her contribution to this agency. We thank Altita for all of her years of service. We know Altita, so we know that Altita will continue to be a part of this agency and the work of human and civil rights as a private citizen, and we look forward to continuing to work for her. And again, we thank you, Altita, for all the things that you have done for this agency and for the employees of this agency. Thank you, and we wish you all the best in your retirement.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Pleasure working with you.
Oh, well, thank you. I enjoyed my years at the commission. Very dedicated to civil rights and to the employees.
Yeah. Okay.
Brandon, you had your hand up.
Yes, I didn't get to send in a message, but I wanted to thank Altita for helping me navigate my time at the commission during my first year there, and for making it a joy to work there. It was nice sharing an office next to you, and I'm sure that, of course, I've actually talked to Altita usually every other day since she's been retired, but I thank you, Altita, and I'm looking forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, Brad.
Any other commissioners with any statements or comments? Commissioner Thomas?
Yes, I just want to thank Altita for her services that she has provided to the Kentucky Commission on Human Rights. She has certainly been a strong advocate for human and civil rights. It's been said, and just been a joy to work with. Know her from down through the years, and blessings on you as you continue your journey into retirement.
Thank you, Tim.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes, Altida, thank you very much on behalf of the Hispanic community. I met you many years ago in a Hispanic summit in Cherryville. So since then, again, thank you for your job for the Commonwealth, and especially for the Hispanic community. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
Commissioner Cole.
No, I'm just excited for her to be retiring in such a good time. You know, she don't have to go anywhere for sure. Congratulations, and I'm sure you'll find some things to do even after this retirement. I don't see you just staying at home. No pun.
Thank you. You're right.
Altida, just you are a familiar face I've seen down through the years, and there's often an expression that we say when we say the word retire. Really, you don't retire, you just retread. And so I believe that your work is not done, and there's more mileage that you have to give, and just be encouraged. The wisdom that you have is so needed, and God bless you, and thank you for your commitment. Not many people can say that they have persisted that long in one place of employment. That is very significant and is not to be taken lightly. And there are many people you have seen come and go. And I'm sure others would also, if they had an opportunity today to join us, they would say much of what we are saying as well. So God bless you.
Hear, hear.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Any other commissioner? Okay, Altida, you and I have known each other. I don't know how many years it's been.
That's right.
Quite frankly, when I got the meeting material and learned that you had retired, I was somewhat shocked and surprised. But I know it is well earned in terms of your years of service, the contributions that you made. You've been a fighter for civil rights in this community across the state for years, and you have made an impact. There's no doubt about your impact on the commission. And we look forward to working with you in whatever capacity you're around in the future. And as always, all of us will be calling on you to pick your brains, to learn some of that wisdom, so we're enable us all to be more effective in the commission, to be more effective as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Okay.
And Altida, Commissioner Randolph just texted me to let you know that she wanted to thank you for your wonderful job here, and wish you a wonderful life in retirement, and just thank you again for your service to KCHR.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving forward, there obviously is one open position as a staff attorney, but also the managing attorney position. When the book was put together, I haven't talked to Brandon yet today to know what the update from personnel has been, but it's still been pending being posted on the site. Also, we're hoping to have the staff attorney position on there at the same time. That way we can make sure that we're moving forward and not getting too far behind. We're also working on getting the vacant investigator's position filled as well. And we're looking at ways to cover that, maybe federally funded. That way we can get quicker help to the office, because the hiring procedures would be a little different. As far as training and professional development, with those positions being posted, I'm required, and I'm doing some management trainings and budget trainings in My Purpose portal, which is our really training site. And then also working on goal planning and setting new goals with managers in the next 2 weeks. and I think I get to this later, but there's also some training actually this afternoon with myself and the education and outreach team on doing intake functions, and we're working with the EEOC this afternoon after this meeting is over on more refreshers on inputting things into the database and getting the intake functions moving a little more smoothly. And then I can't remember if it's next week or the week after, we're doing the same thing with our housing HUD database, making it where we have more people who are able to do this data input, and to make sure we can all be able to move some of those cases through the process on that front end, excuse me, to cover up for any challenges or delays we might be facing, but also making sure that we can meet our duties and make sure that we're doing what needs to be done. And so we're all working on learning how to do those functions. As far as outreach goes, last month, we talked about meeting and talking more with local commissions. And this month, I met with the new executive director for the Louisville Human Relations Commission. And we talked about our agencies and how we can work to support one another. They have a new grant for some housing and fair housing things and issues to be addressed in the city. And they have a major campaign that's going to be all around Louisville and Jefferson County area with billboards, some videos, some commercials, and all of that. And so we're having conversations on how we can be involved in that to further what we're doing, but they have a grant for it. And so it makes it where we can help with that information and leverage that grant to create more information about what's available in Kentucky. I also went to the Owensboro Commission and talked to them about our work and things that we're doing and some of the work coming up. They were working on a survey, which in a few of my earlier communications with you all, I talked about my desire to have listening tours and to talk with different segments of the state about what they're seeing by way of human rights and some of the issues that needed to be addressed. And it sounded very similar. And so that seemed to be a more COVID era way to get that information. And so we're having a few meetings in the coming week or two to talk about how we could replicate that statewide and utilizing the local commissions to do that. So we could do a statewide ask by using those local commissions to get a local temperature, and we'd have the same survey and being able to get that data and information, but not being able to, while we're not able to go out. I also wanted to share with the team here about 15 minutes of the conversation from the commissioners there was excitement around the fair housing event that we're doing. And so most of the commissioners there said that they were going to participate and come to that. And they were actually sharing it with their own networks because they really were excited about the past events put on by our education outreach team. And so they had wanted to spread the word and get even more people involved for this next one. I've done a few media and speaking engagements. I was a guest lecturer with U of L School of Law in the class on poverty, health, and the law. And we talked about how this agency addresses those issues. And we talked especially in relation to the ADA. I'm doing another few classes at the law school around equal rights this spring and how this agency plays a hand in that. And I'm excited about this type of engagement with the law school because we're building that relationship with our local law school, and that gives us this partnership that I know I expressed to you all a few meetings ago that we are now an official placement agency, but just being able to build that relationship with our local law school is really important. I talked about our office on Wave 3 in Louisville, as well as to the state legislature. And then this past week, I was approached by Fordham University, their School of Law in Brooklyn, and they reached out to me about discussing issues around equality, equal rights, and how the faith community plays a role in addressing both of those, especially in education. And so that was a really great event. It was largely attended, and it was good to talk about where we are to a national audience. And then lastly on that, I was asked by the Legislative Black Caucus to record their Black History Month video. And the video was put together by the Legislative Black Caucus and the Legislative Research Commission with the General Assembly. And so I believe that went up about 2 days ago. Last time we talked about technology, I let you all know about the legal case tracking software, and just as important, and the chair actually mentioned this to me probably the second time we talked about him, starting about processes and making sure we have good processes. And I convened Brandon, Aaron, Cynthia, and Marianne to talk about also doing a better process tracking from intake. So when people come in the door, through the PC panel, where that legal determination gets made, and if they're going to move over to then the legal case tracking system. And so we looked at software options, but we're also working on a demo of an internal Microsoft Access version that could accomplish front-end tracking before the handoff to legal, but being able to have something that's not, because right now we have those federal databases that we put things into, but that's not as quickly accessible, and it's not as friendly for all purposes on checking on where something is along the process. And so we're building that out, and hopefully, I believe by the next meeting that should be up and running, and then we can then have a better understanding of if that makes sense, or if we should go with a paid version or software. So I let you all know that we were doing all staff meetings now and updates, and I wanted to share I've enjoyed doing those and getting to have those conversations and have that quicker and more personable access to information, and hope we'll continue to do those and might even increase them. As we're in transition with mediation, there are some things that are a little different. As of now, mediations, since we had to change it so quickly, until we get the new people in, mediations are coming to me and Cynthia, and then we are going to work them and figure out where they go, or to coordinate if mediations are going to happen, if they're not, and then facilitating them getting to enforcement if there's not going to be a mediation. We're working currently to get that person hired, but also to get a mediation coordinator position a little bit fleshed out to facilitate this long term. I also set up a mediation email account. That way it doesn't just go to one person, but it's a mediation account that a few people who would handle mediations can monitor. And so it wouldn't be it would no longer be tied to one person, but for longevity, it can be a design mediation address that we can let people know. And that way for parties that are opting in, they can have those communications through mediation. And then there will be training on mediation. I've worked out a training plan with EEOC for mediation trainings as soon as we are able to hire for positions. I mentioned earlier that we are working on the housing and employment training, so more people can handle those intake functions when needed. And this is also after some conversations I had with HUD around our processing practices and some changes that we needed to make. I also worked with Cynthia and Aaron to learn how to process complaints and closure documents, to expand my own knowledge, and also to make sure I know how to do the functions that are needed in this office. So if something happens where someone needs somebody to step in, that I also know what that looks like and that I could be able to learn how to do it as well. And also, we're trying to help prevent undue burden and delay when unforeseen circumstances occur. Like we've had 3 snowstorms, I guess, in a week. And so as far as our building update, we've had 6 property managers who put in to suggest spaces for us to move into. I believe I let you all know that we had that open bid as of the time of our last meeting. And so when that closed, there were 6 property managers who reached out and said that they would have suitable space. And so I was asked to have a very small selected team to set appointments to view all of these proposals and look at the buildings and decide if they are suitable before people move forward. I wanted to make sure that everyone was involved in this process. And so I want to involve the team during our updates to understand what they feel is beneficial for our possibly new working environment. And so as that process moves forward, I'll be sure to update everyone, and we can hopefully have good news soon on that. And then lastly, I shared this with you all, but just as a reminder, COVID vaccines are coming, they're here. And I get a communication from the governor's office on eligibility for commissioners and staff. And as soon as I hear from anyone from the governor's office, I get that notification. And then there's a quick turnaround where I then need to contact you and see if you want to get that vaccination or not. And then I let them know, and then we set up your appointment. And if it's a no, then we can let the state know and let them move on. That is everything. Does anyone have questions?
Just to add, I didn't tell you this, but I spoke with Real Properties on the phone. They called me, and they were waiting for Jefferson County to turn yellow, or to get out of the red before they were going to come up and view properties. And yesterday we were out of the red, so I would expect that to happen very soon now. Sounds good. Thanks, Brandon.
Again, I guess I would express concern for you, Mr. Sullivan, about all the things that you're involved in and stretching yourself too thin. You're sought after, talented, gifted, all that. But, I would just be a little concerned on all the other things that take you away from the commission that would stretch you too thin. So.
Oh, no, you're definitely right, at least on the concern about not being stretched too thin. I don't know about the nice things. But
I can take them back, but I don't think it's necessary.
No, I would definitely like to be mindful of where we are and what my own limitations are. And right now, my biggest concern is making sure that we can get A, these positions filled, and B, make sure that we're able to function and do the things that we're supposed to be doing. I'm actually having a meeting next week on address some more process things on backlog and getting that cleared up, as well as the direction for the new staff attorney being dedicated towards clearing up backlog on top of mediations and spreading the mediations out for actually, but being able to have more focus on our internal things and make sure that we are addressing all the things that need to be done, because that's very important. And so that's the top of mind concern. And so other things are great, but also always have to stay mindful of what needs to be done to make sure that we're doing what we need to do.
Thank you.
Any other questions for any of the commissioners? Okay, hearing none. Thank you for that report, Terrence. Next is budget and personnel, Brandon.
You have my report before you. A couple things. We are working feverishly to get those positions filled, and it's just been a little roadblock with the personnel cabinet being so busy and a few technical items. And I was hoping to have the access database for tracking ready for this meeting, but unfortunately that did not happen. I've been somewhat busy. So that being said, do you have any questions about the financial report or any other issues? Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, number E255. It says that we spend, some $3,000. I mean, $3,090 for advertising. Could I know what is that, please?
Yes. So that money was part of a specific HUD grant called the Partnership Grant, and it was advertising in KCO, the Kentucky Association of Counties publication. It's something specifically that Marianne, it's extra money that Marianne brought in and that had to be used specifically for fair housing advertising. If you have any questions specifically, Marianne could probably answer it, but.
Not really. However, I would suggest to think a way for start hitting a little more the Hispanic community. So if by some way you could consider to run some advertising in some of the source for the Hispanic community. I'm thinking about a couple of newspapers, Facebook, etc. Because again, I still think that people, they don't know what we are doing here. I think a good way is to reach, the community. So, is it?
Very good.
We would be happy to do that. And actually, 2 of those digital ads that you see the expense for were actually printed in Spanish in those publications. And we do have an event coming up in March and hopefully April and May that will specifically target Hispanic communities in Kentucky. So I can talk a little more about that when we get to education outreach report.
Thank you.
And if you want to see.
Before you go, Commissioner Cheney has a question.
Okay, just 1 second. And before that question, I will show you the actual ad from KCO. Can everyone see it? It says E plus fair housing, a better community.
Yeah.
And I think that was on the 3rd page. It might have been just inside. So it was a full page ad that was paid for by HUD. All right. Yes, Commissioner Cheney.
Oh, just thank you for the budget variance, Brandon. Just whenever you get a chance, can you just send us a copy with the columns where they don't have the hashtags and the numerics didn't show? Yeah, just a minor thing, but thank you.
You're welcome.
Brandon, I have a question. What kinds of things are included in E399 other?
So E399 other, I can give you a full breakdown. We did include the federal funds payment to our social media consultant in that recently. And everything else would be pretty minor, but sometimes there just aren't object code. Those are called object codes, but there just aren't codes that cover certain types of expenses. But I think primarily in that number is our social media consultant. I'm trying to get back to it to see what the exact amount is.
That's fine. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Is there a dollar threshold you're using for purposes of deciding what you put in the others?
There's not.
Okay.
It's just a category. We don't budget down to the object level, okay, per se, not to the object code level. It's the lowest we budget is operating versus personnel cost.
Commissioner Frank Smith.
Yes, to Commissioner Cheney's point, I wondered if, since we're in the session, if it's okay to give the totals for those two columns.
It is.
So we could have that.
Okay. I'm gonna have to
unplug my camera.
Vice Chair, what was your question? My screen froze.
Well, I just asked to Commissioner Cheney's question, since we were actually in the meeting, could we have those totals for those two columns? I was going to ask the same question, so figured we could just make notation of them.
It's the bottom of page 23, the total lines for FY 2020 year to date and FY 2021 year to date. The sale didn't make the sales wide enough for the numbers to in fact print. So that's what he's looking up.
Okay, can everyone hear me still?
Yes. Yes, we can go ahead.
Okay, the column D, the fiscal year 2020 is $1,367,311.49. Fiscal year 2021 year to date is $1,387,823.06. And the next column is negative $20,511.57. And I'll attach this file to the meeting chat.
Email it out right now.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions relating to budget and personnel? Okay, hearing none. Thank you for that, Brandon. Next is Enforcement Unit, Aaron.
Hello, everyone. We have 23 cases for you all to review today. That's 2 conciliations, 3 reconsiderations, 5 administrative closures, 11 MPCs, and 2 withdrawals. Is there any questions?
Any questions from any of the commissioners regarding any of the cases referenced?
I have also one other thing just to point out. We had an opportunity this year to do an engagement partnership with the EEOC. So 4 of the administrative closures you see against Joe Mel Seams, one of our investigators actually did a joint investigation with the EEOC, and it was a really great training opportunity for her. And we also got $1,000 extra to partnership with them and do that joint investigation. So it was a great opportunity.
Sounds good.
Good.
I had a couple of just a very minor clerical thing, but it does change the meaning. On page 137, on the case Joseph versus CDL, the second to the last sentence says staff investigation did find any evidence to indicate that the respondent treated the complainant differently because of his race. So I think that should say did not find.
Yes, we can correct that.
Okay. I wondered, the case 8759E, which is a dismissal related to the young lady, I believe, who was pregnant. And I just wondered if you could kind of verbalize a little bit of that, contextualize that, because it seemed to me that in this particular case, there was just something missing. And I wondered what, for example, what said the respondent suffered an outage requiring tellers to count out change by hand. How was that outage? Was that at all verified? It seemed like there was some action taken. They just said a team lead found that the complainant had not counted out the change in the way required by policy. And, you know, it seemed that if there was some issue with how this person had to count change, if there was some form of an outage, that what consideration was given to that.
I'm looking over the CRC now. Just give me 1 second. I'm gonna see if we can get Chad in here. Chad Stratton was the investigator on that case, and he can answer any questions we have.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes. Yes. So in this particular case, I did confirm it was an outage. In this case, the complainant had a extending disciplinary pattern that was consistent with that. It was an outage. She did announce her pregnancy, but at that point, they had already been following her disciplinary policy prior to the pregnancy. Does that address your question, sir?
Okay, so really she was terminated because of the track record of issues. It wasn't that there was a failure here in counting the change correctly, because it just seemed like that was, I don't know if that was the straw that broke the camel's back with her, or, but if there was an outage, it didn't seem fair to me that.
It does seem disproportionate in terms of the specific single incident. But with that said, they did have documentation that the aggressive discipline policy. There were a couple confounds there. The person who terminated her was both a pregnancy confound and there was a race confound in that particular case. The thing about the race confound is that the person who began the disciplinary process with the complainant was also a Black female. They were both Black females. One was the supervisor, one was below, the complainant was below her. The Black female supervisor disciplined at the beginning. She left to another position. The final decision to terminate was done by a new decision maker using that record. But all of that preceded the pregnancy. So there becomes this issue of, well, it couldn't be a race. The race fell out the prior. And then at that point, there was no evidence to show that the pregnancy was the was the determining factor in that they had already shown that she had these issues prior to them knowing of the pregnancy. That was my read of it, and I didn't have direct evidence to show or circumstantial evidence of a equally comparable employee because of the disciplinary history.
So I'm going to assume that the outage was a power outage or a mechanical outage of some sort that this person to count the change by hand versus an automated system. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess for me, it just seems strange if there was an outage. I could possibly see where she felt that there was some cause for her being terminated other than a previous record if it happens right at that juncture, which to me was that the time to terminate her. So it may be that we're on target with no probable cause. But, you know, it just kind of, the whole cash handling issue, if that was an issue that had kind of been resolved, or, you know, is this the incident to terminate her on if she's not the only reason for the cash counting by hand? There was an outage also.
So it wasn't, so they have a policy where, you know, if there's an outage, you go through and you go, you know, they do, okay, 20, 17, 18, 19, and then 20, where they count out starting from there, just to show that the dollar bills, they had video of that. At the time that she was terminated, she had made a number of clerical errors that resulted in people who had paid their electricity wrongly having their electricity severed. So there was some rather higher severity performance issues that preceded this particular incident, and where she had harmed customers in terms of these wrongful power disconnections. She had a new supervisor who was on alert for that, and she wasn't according to them and according to this new supervisor, not the one that did the previous documentation of the power disconnections, she wasn't counting out the change in that way. So there was sort of a higher, I also received evidence that they had in fact had employees go out on pregnancy and come back without a disconnection or without interruption to their employment in that time. The respondent had a track record, the HR people had a track record that I confirmed that pregnant female employees were able to leave and come back without issue. In terms of the totality of the evidence, that was what I found.
Okay. That's all I have.
Any other questions?
I have a quick question about one second. One second, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I believe Commissioner Cheney had her hand raised as well.
Who did?
I believe Commissioner Cheney had her hand raised as well.
Yeah, go ahead. I will ask later.
I'm looking at the 2106H. It's on page, excuse me, 25, I believe. In reading this, I guess I had a couple of questions. I was a little unclear whether the complainant was, I understand that other folks receive similar write-ups for issues with their housing, but I'm wondering if the volume of complaints against, or volume of write-ups against the complainant was higher than other folks. And with regard to the parking, I'm just curious whether or not staff observed parking volume, for lack of a better word, whether that was consistent. There can be a policy, but there's an actual practice. So those, I'm not sure that's well articulated, but if somebody could help me with those, I'd appreciate it.
I'm sorry, what case was that again?
2106.
It's on page 25, it's 2106. It's a gentleman who had been written up over housing issues and evicted. And I understand that other folks have also been written up and evicted. My question relates to, did it appear that there was a disproportionate number of write-ups against this particular individual? That's the first question. And then with regard to the number of cars that someone can have parked in front of their home, did staff observe whether or not multiple residents consistently exceeded the parking limitations?
From reading the CRC, it looks like that. It looks like there were people that were written up of different races and sexes for the same thing that the complainant was written up for. But I'm going to bring Cedric Irvin in because he was an investigator on that case and he can answer those specific questions.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. I think my question has more to do with the volume of write-ups that the complainant received.
Yeah, and I get that, but with these cases, when you're investigating and you look at comparables, and from reading it, from what I can see, it looks like there were people of different races and sexes all written up for the same things. But Cedric can speak more to the volume if there was a disproportionate impact on that. Brandon, I think Cedric just texted me he's in a waiting room. Can he be admitted in?
Yeah, he's entering.
I'm in here.
Okay, we have Cedric with us now.
Did you hear the question, Cedric?
Yes, I heard the question. I was getting my computer. Okay, yes, I'm sorry about that. Regarding this case, the volume was the same. I also interviewed witnesses, tenants that were on the property, and talked to those who also received write-ups. Some of them were going through evictions themselves, and they also were of different race and different sex. So the volume was pretty much equal to the same, and they have the same practice regarding the matter of what happened with Mr. Robertson and other people on the property.
Thank you. That was my question. I appreciate it, Cedric.
You are welcome. You are welcome.
Any more questions for Aaron?
Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes. Quick question, just for my information. We have 5 administrative closure cases. Let's say, for example, in 9116E. According to the report, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission took care for these cases. So the question is basing our experience. I mean, what is the next step? I mean, how does it work? I mean, once they took care of these cases, just wondering, what is the next step? I mean, what is usually the?
Okay, with four of those administrative closures against Joe Mel Seams, those were the 4 cases that we did the joint investigation with. Usually when we have complaints that come in that are similar in allegations and there's different complainants all against the same respondent, we send those to the EEOC because they have a class action division.
So they have bigger teeth as far as like if there's several complainants, all that have similar allegations against the same respondent. So when we got the Joe Mel Seams case, we contacted the EEOC to let them know that we had these potential class action suits. And the EEOC liaison recommended us, well, not recommended, they asked us if we wanted to engage in an engagement partnership where our investigator at the commission, who was Claudia Peraza, would work with an EEOC investigator and they would do a joint investigation. And so in doing that investigation, we found that the complainants did not have a very strong case, but the respondent had some policy issues and some practice issues. So the EEOC has a practice where they can drop the complainant from the case because the complainant didn't have a strong case, but they can actually hold the respondent accountable and make them do training and reporting, where we don't have that option with our agency. So that's why we administratively closed them on our end. And so now the EEOC can enforce training on them through a separate conciliation with just the respondent that doesn't include the complainant. So we got full credit for those 4 cases. And then we also got an additional $1,000 for participating in this partnership with the EEOC. The other administrative closure is sometimes the EEOC will contact us through our work sharing agreement. There might be a case that they find interest in and they pull it and they assume jurisdiction and they do the investigation. So the other administrative closure, the Slusher case, Stacy Slusher versus Bell County Board of Education, the EEOC was interested in that case and they assumed jurisdiction. When the EEOC assumes jurisdiction like that, we do get full credit for the case.
Good. Thank you. Nice
You're welcome.
explanation. Thank you. How could I, as a commissioner, how could I know more details about these cases?
About the cases in particular, or just about any cases the EEOC investigates?
For example, in these 4 cases, that is, 4 people that they say that they were discriminated because of the national origin. Yes. So how could I know more details on these cases?
I can get updates from our EEOC liaison. We regularly speak with our EEOC liaison. We have a very good relationship with him. So I can follow up and find out. But from my understanding, they're going to be doing a conciliation where they require that respondent do training in regards to national origin discrimination.
Okay.
And then we also get from the EEOC, and it's not really particular to our cases, but we do get updates from the EEOC regarding their big cases, their national big cases. That might be something that Terrence can forward to you all if you all are interested in those. And you can see some of the bigger cases that the EEOC settles and some of the cases that they're working on, because there's some very interesting cases that come through those emails.
That's a good idea, Aaron. If you all want, and we can talk about it, I can send you the EEOC daily clips that they send, or I can send them weekly or something like that. So we can talk about that. And then I'll actually be with our EEOC guy in 3 hours. So you can talk to him.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. You're very kind.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I don't have questions about the cases. I guess this could wait. I just have a comment. I guess we should finish this process. It's not a big deal. It doesn't relate to anything policy. It's just something I recognize as reading through the cases for the report.
Okay. We'll hold it and we'll talk about that at the end of the agenda, because I have a couple items I'd like to talk to you about as well. Hearing none, is there a motion to approve and accept the enforcement unit report?
So moved.
Nope.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so it's moved and second that the report of the enforcement unit be approved and accepted. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Next item on our agenda is the report for the Education and Outreach Unit. Ms. Taylor.
Good morning, everyone. You have the report of the activities we've participated in since our last meeting. When I spoke a little earlier, I did say that I would mention some of the Hispanic outreach activities that are coming up. March is Women's History Recognition Month, and Juan Pena will be writing an article in Spanish that he will be distributing to several outlets, media outlets. Of course, those articles will be posted online on our social media outlets, and he will be sending them to different Spanish-speaking publications. I believe he's already written the article. It may, at this point, just be ready for Terrence to approve before we get those distributed, and they don't need to go out until March. The other thing is he is working with a group of folks out of Lexington, and they are planning a virtual forum that will specifically deal with women in Kentucky's immigrant communities. And the topics for that particular forum will be sex, sexual harassment and employment, the Pregnancy Act, as it relates to what the commission can do to help enforce that, and sexual orientation. But those topics will be geared specifically for women in immigrant communities here in Kentucky. Those things will be coming up in March. We don't have a specific date as of this moment for that particular virtual forum, but of course you will be notified when we do. So that said, as Mr. Sullivan has told you all, we've all made an extra effort to attend virtually our local commission meetings, and those have turned out to be very positive. The last meeting I attended, we actually walked through that city's ordinance that established their commission and worked on revising the ordinance and revising their bylaws, and now they're ready to present back to their city council. So those meetings have been very productive, and all of us are working on meeting with our local commissions. So beyond that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I guess following up on Commissioner Fuentes' question earlier, I guess is your question going to doing the advertising in Spanish or other language, or is it going to where the advertisements are being placed?
Just trying to enhance our, what we are doing for the Hispanic community. I still feel that people, they don't know that we exist. So I'm just trying to bring up that we need to be more present on the community.
And excuse me, and we can do that. What I can make sure we do is that we get a list of all the Spanish-speaking media outlets, magazines and radio stations, social media outlets, and then if you like, as these particular types of grants come in and we have funding to do additional advertising, we will make sure that we include those opportunities in the advertising.
Good.
Commissioner Fuentes, pardon me, Chairman Burris, if I may, wondered if you have recommendations of what truly works in the community for getting messages to them. I know sometimes organizations, we think we're doing things and we might be even wasting our time or resources when maybe there is a specific grassroots approach or something that's no one is thinking about that is most effective. So I've just wondered if to your point, if you could advise, if you're saying people don't know about us, then what is the best way to get the news to them from their point of view?
Yeah, of course. I actually I have a meeting 6-7 months ago with the director, and we were talking about that. So more than welcome to suggest, to give a couple of tips, because you know, I'm working with this community. So of course, you know, more than welcome, and thank you for supporting us.
I have a question or statement. Miss Marianne, make sure you get that information to me, because I can still do what I can with the radio station. Just email me anything that you want to let people know of, and I'll do that on my shows for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Just, you know, quick comment. Remember that Juan Peña has been very active with the community. So he also knows exactly, you know, who are the source, you know, for the media, the radio station, you know. He knows very well, because he has been working many years for the community. So I think that he's also a good source of information and recommendation.
Thank you. Yes.
Thanks for that. Any other questions for Ms. Taylor?
Ms. Taylor, on the last page of your report, let's see, on page 69, I noticed that you mentioned Danville Boyd County. That should be actually Boyle County.
Okay, I'm sorry. We will correct that. Yeah.
We do have a Boyd. It's not
right. That's Ashland. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
That's okay. They pop off the page at me. I can't help it. What's that?
What page was that?
69.
Thank you.
I believe.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Oh, I do have one other thing. If you'll notice, Mr. Sullivan was talking to you all about the EEOC clips that highlight major cases and major decisions. We have started putting those in your news clips, especially decisions that are made in Sixth Circuit, which directly affect the Kentucky region, the surrounding states. As they pertain to protected classes and different groups of persons, we have started highlighting some of those articles in the news section of this commission report.
Yeah, I saw that. That was good.
Thank you for that. We'll now move to the legal unit report. Colt.
Good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me? Okay, I've had some issues in the past. We closed 2 cases since our last unit report by conciliation. Erin Spalding mentioned that during her report. I'm also happy to field any questions about this month's report. But first, I want to circle back on a couple of questions asked by Dr. Smith last month about the legal unit report. Under the judgment and collections section of the report, there's a figure under subsection B there. It says collected and on deposit in a special KCHR account, and there's a $13,620 figure next to a case style Norman versus Spears. I said in my new report that we'd have an update on that. That was collected on a judgment that we obtained long ago. I have Brandon here available to answer questions about what the special KCHR account means. That was an item that had been carried over from report to report for I'm not sure how long before I got here, and honestly didn't know what it was until asked about it last month. So if you have any questions about what the special KCHR account means, hopefully Brandon can help you with those, if there are any.
Brandon?
Yes. Are there any questions? I didn't know. So the state has restricted accounts. In fund accounting, you have one general account and then multiple restricted accounts that are for designated specific purposes. Our restricted account is 13N4. The balance is reflected on the narrative portion of the financial report. I was trying to pull that up to see exactly what it is, but we use that to deposit funds that we earned from trainings, funds, recovery of legal fees, which is what this was in the Norman case, and then also refunds from previous year expenditures.
All right.
Were there any specific question? And as far as the use of those funds, we have spending authority of $10,000 per year according to the budget, and we use them basically for whatever the agency may need them for.
There were also questions about the figures related to, on the old report, it's the judgment lien against Shelley Maxwell, and there was evidence that we've received some money from that, which we had on behalf of one of the co-defendants named Shelley Maxwell. The total judgment lien we obtained, I think in 2016, was just north of $26,000. That obviously accrues interest. Ms. Maxwell, one of the co-defendants, sought to have the lien against her property released, surely to sell a home or otherwise. So the money that you see from that account on the report, she paid $27,000. She paid part of the judgment lien as far as what was owed to us and then owed to the complainant. So she has had her lien released. There's still two other defendants on that case. As you can see, one of the co-defendants, Mr. Meeks, is subject to a foreclosure in which we have entered an appearance and try to stake claim to anything we can get pursuant to our judgment lien. I filed an answer in that case at the end, well, no, a week or so ago. We still have from him, total outstanding on that case is roughly $12,000 plus interest. So I just wanted to clear that up and explain what those figures meant at that part of the report for you, Dr. Smith.
Thank you so much, Colt, for following up on that. I appreciate it.
Sure. And if anyone has any questions about other items in the report, I'm of course happy to answer those.
Any questions from anyone?
In that case, I will add that the claimant's check went stale. We were unable to locate her, and I advised the title company to deposit it with the treasurer for unclaimed property. So it's there waiting for her whenever we are able to locate her.
If we're able to recover anything in the current foreclosure case associated with that judgment lien, I'll be sure to update that in the report.
Any other questions from anyone? Okay, hearing none. The next item on the agenda is committee reports. Are there any committee reports? Okay, let me bring you all up to date on the sort of special ad hoc committee that was established during the last commission meeting. That group, we met one time. I think Terrence sent you an email outlining what had occurred in that meeting in terms of the discussion. The outcome of that was, number one, was to get the audit report and distribute it to all of the commissioners, which I think started last Friday. I think several of you have responded that you received it. Some have not. And so we'll continue to wait on that. The second piece of that was to ask the executive director to meet with representatives from the Attorney General's office and also from the Goldberg law firm to in fact pursue status in terms of where those things are. And so that process, those meetings have occurred. And so where we are now is at the point of waiting on each of you to get the audit report and review it. It is a relatively long report. And at the time, I think we get notice from all of you that you received it and had a chance to review it. I think we'll contemplate if maybe having a special meeting to deal with nothing but that audit report. Hopefully we can get that done prior to the next scheduled meeting of the commission in terms of where we are. And also in that session, you'll get a report on what the executive director also found in terms of from the Attorney General's office and from the governor's office, as well as I guess additional things that you may have learned from Dean Dorton as well. So that is the status in terms of where that committee is and where we're going. Are there any questions about that and the process for going forward? Okay.
Chair, would you prefer to set a deadline for us to have that that report read and evaluated?
I've debated setting the deadline. I want to make certain that everyone has it in hand. We ask that they respond back. So as soon as we get confirmation that everybody has it, we'll go ahead and set a meeting date or a special call, set a date for a special call meeting to go over that.
I'm looking at my chart now, and we have 3 outstanding who haven't said that they received it yet.
Okay, maybe what we do, Terrence, is maybe the day or by the end of the week is follow up with each of them to see get confirmation in terms of their receipt. And then we will probably give people about a week to go through and review it and then set a date after that. Okay. Any other questions relating to that? I guess we're at new business on the agenda. Commissioner Garnetta Smith had a question or at least a comment regarding some of the reports. So Commissioner Smith.
One of the things that I value just as a professional is certainly good writing, but also accuracy. On page 63 and 64 of the report, I noticed that there was an incorrect word used. And since this is a public record that is subject to open meetings, I just would like for it to be as accurate as possible. And to be something that would be probably hard to catch, but it says submitted for closer, and it should be closure. Mm-hmm. On like 2111-H, I saw that several times, just in that section. Other places, there were like maybe 4 or 5 times it was used incorrectly. Spell check, and Grammarly are wonderful tools if you all are not familiar with them. And I would just encourage us to be as precise in our writing and as error-free as possible as it relates to grammar and spelling and so forth.
Good point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well taken. The executive director has heard you, so he will be following up with the staff as it relates to that in terms of the report. Is there any other item that anyone would like to bring up? I guess the other thing I would share with you is that I've had, I guess, several conversations with the executive director. I know you all, prior to my coming on board, have been working and struggling with how do we eliminate this case backlog in terms of getting things done. I think it's pretty clear, at least in my early analysis, is that we've got to get all of the positions that we have funded, filled with people in terms of getting staff on board to be able to do what we need to have done. And so, we'll be working with following what the executive director does in regards to getting those positions filled. But what I have asked for also is that we do is to tell us in terms of a some kind of metric, some kind of measurement instrument or whatever it is, where we are in terms of, you can look at it's almost like a scorecard, looking pretty clearly at where we are, how cases are tracking down, what work is being done, so that we have a better view and a better opportunity to understand where things are in terms of going. I'm a big process-oriented person, and so looking at how do we streamline and make our process more effective than they already are. I think looking at the past minutes and things and having the conversation with the executive director, Terrence has worked a lot on process, and I think things are getting better. But it won't only get better when we have the people in place to be able to do the work, and so that's something that we have to continue to monitor and support him in terms of making certain that we get those kinds of things done. But I've also asked that in terms of some of when you look at some of the cases in terms of where it is and you read through things, it's not always clear when was the last action taken in some of the cases that are there. So I've asked to flag in some way, what is the most recent action so that we know? So when you see a case that's been out there for 2 or 3 years and whatever, it's not always necessarily easy to look at that and say, oh, there was an action taken a month ago or last week. And so we'll be looking at refining that in some way so as to be able to measure and track. But I think overall, at least we're moving in the right direction. A lot of good things are happening, but we need to get our personnel in place to be able to do that. And it's not only getting the personnel in place to do the work, but making certain that the work that needs to be done is aligned with people who have the job responsibility and they're held accountable for producing and addressing their job duties and all of that. So, as we go forward, those are things that I'm going to be working on and looking at. And I think also that if you, based on your professional experience, have ideas and suggestions that would make the place work more efficiently, any of those things, I think the executive director would welcome that from you. And so I encourage you to share their ideas and thoughts with them, because I think working collectively together, we can help make improvement. It's going to take us a while to climb this mountain and reduce that backlog. But in fact, if we got a roadmap and we know what we're doing and we're all working together, we can get there. So I share that with you in terms of that. Next item.
Yes, I had a matter I wanted to bring up. Thank you, Chair. And I do want to commend the way in which we handled our meeting. The other meeting that we just talked about related to the audit. So I'm pleased that we continue to move forward. I wanted to, I guess for me, while we have some of the staff here, something feels strange, and it's not necessarily bad. I guess maybe I just don't know the hermeneutic or the science of interpretation that goes into the investigation process. And I've picked up on the notion of researching within an organization. Were there any, for example, the case we talked about earlier, well, did they have any other pregnant women? Or is someone used the term comparatives. And I just wondered if that is the most effective way of processing some of the cases, or are some of these cases unique, and is there a way of understanding within the case itself what is really going on? Because I wonder if sometimes if we're looking at a track record, well, was there another Black person, or was the supervisor Black also? Was the supervisor female also? That kind of thing. I just wondered if we might be missing some intricate pieces that are specific to a situation, and where we say no probable cause, is there a possibility that something is, and I know you all have a best practice of how you just kind of go through these cases, and there's so many, and I know it's our job to kind of look at what's getting ready to be closed and ask questions. But I just wondered if there was some document, or if there's some that could help me as a commissioner understand how, without knowing the cases, what is the template that's used to determine how you get to no probable cause, how you get to some action, because it seems like out of all the cases we've had, virtually none of them sound like there's a problem. And could there be a problem? And I just wanted to bring that up just for me. I don't know if anyone else understands better or could guide me as well, but since I'm new to the commission, I just wanted to understand more about that. And this could be off the table for this meeting. I just wanted to bring it up.
Aaron?
Yeah, I got it right here, my little handy dandy, what I call, it's models of proof. And what it is it's a guideline that we received from the EEOC, and it literally goes through almost every kind of case that you can have. And you can't see it really good on Zoom. I could actually get an electronic version and send it to Terrence to send to you all. And it literally breaks down each kind of case and what you need to look for it to be a specific violation of the law. I can go over an easy one in here real quick. Let's see. And it goes through all the different protected classes and what you should look for. And to look at how to look at comparables. And you brought up comparables. And comparables are important in cases where someone has claimed differential treatment, because that is it allows an investigator to look and see, okay, if they're claiming that they were treated different based on their race because they were written up for being late 5 minutes. Well, what our investigators are going to do is they're going to pull all records of anybody who was written up for being late. And we're going to look at them. We look at what we call comparables as someone in a different class to see if they were treated the same or differently. And this models of proof document just kind of goes through each step. So like in a harassment case, they ask, was the complainant subjected to unwelcome comments or conduct based on his or her protected class? Did the conduct result in a tangible job action? So what this models of proof does that we follow is it literally breaks down the case and all the, a potential violation and how we can look or find that information. And like I said, I got a copy right here of it, but I can also find an electronic copy and give that to Terrence. I think it would be very helpful for you all to see too what the investigators look at and what constitutes a violation of law. Because to be honest, something can be unfair, but if it's not based on a protected class, it may not be a violation of KRS 344. And sometimes we do see where that happens of, somebody had a really bad manager who was just terrible and treated people bad, but treated everyone bad. So it necessarily wouldn't be a violation of 344. It would be a bad manager because they didn't just treat Black people bad or women badly or someone with a disability. They treated everyone badly. So we have to be very specific in finding those violations. So it might seem like we have a lot of cases that come through that are no probable cause, but we actually do have some that we push through and they get PC'd. We just PC'd a case last week in our case panel meeting. So we do have some that go. Unfortunately, we don't have as many probable. I don't know if it's unfortunate, but
I understand.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I think that models of proof would really help you all and kind of seeing what we look for and what constitutes a violation, and it would probably help you all follow the CRCs a little better as well.
I think it would for me. It would for me. I would appreciate that.
Okay.
I was wondering about that, but I'll let you guys do your job.
No, like the EEOC is very specific on, providing us with information of what to look for. And it's very easy to follow, but that's where you see some of those words like comparables or tangible job action or an adverse job action. It can kind of break those down for you.
Okay.
Right.
That's most helpful. I feel better already.
Me too. Yeah.
Aaron,
it was me too.
Does that document have actual cases in it that you walk through, examples?
I don't think it actually has actual cases that you can walk through, but there are some cases that I can send as well, like the McDonald case that kind of outlines how a discrimination complaint goes and stuff like that.
Okay, well, I guess what I was thinking of is make certain you send the models of proof out. But for those commissioners who would like to, is at some point in time, take one of our real live cases that we have and walk them through how we have looked at it and addressed where it is. One that you finish, so that commissioners can see the steps you go through and the sort of analysis you do in a real life case.
Okay, I can get that together and have something together for the next commission meeting where I can kind of walk you through and show you, and I'll get that models of proof out within the next today to Terrence to give to you all.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes, Aaron, you explained that real well. And I'm sitting here thinking that that is really from a people standpoint. I think that this is what the commission is really looked at for, is our cases, and explaining that the possible way through the education department that people can basically learn more about how the cases are done, because I think that's what we're looked at for, is our cases. Is it a possibility that can be simplified to people in general?
Yeah, and I will say the models of proof is very simplified. I mean, it's about as simplified as you can get. So I feel like people could look at that and get a better understanding.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's good, because I guess my question is how can that be put out there? How can more people learn of that?
Well, is it something that could go on our website?
It might be. I'd have to have Terrence look that over and see. I did talk to Terrence last week about creating a tab on our website of what to do in case you are currently experiencing discrimination. Because what happens a lot of times is people don't know what to do when these things are happening to them. So they don't get people's names. They don't get contact information. So I have made a suggestion that if we kind of can guide people even before they file or while they're in the mix of this stuff happening to them, what they can do to better help us when we do get it in an investigation.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much.
Oh, and I also suggested too a tab for respondents so that respondents can know if they're having an issue in the workplace, how can they address it legally without creating a hostile or a discriminatory environment. Because I think respondents also need to know that training your employees is vital. And a lot of stuff that we see come through our office is if they just provided regular training on how, what you can and shouldn't say in the workforce, I think our respondents would find that they might not have as many cases filed against them if they trained their employees correctly too.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
That's very good. And I know that the job with trying to put that out. And I think even now that we're doing things more from a virtual standpoint, I think it gives us an opportunity to reach more people in the workplace, in a manner of speaking. Your thoughts?
With the virtual stuff going on, it's a whole new world. And I think it's given easy access to some things for some people.
Yes.
And then here in Kentucky, we're very unique in some ways because we have a lot of rural areas that don't have internet or access. So I think it's great in some ways, but then I think you got to be careful that you don't leave out some people by just doing virtual. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, I appreciate the distinction you made between something that is unfair in the workplace versus that's discriminatory. So something that's unfair that's perpetuated is bad management, but it may not be, it may not violate the statute. So
yes.
That was cool. Yeah.
And unfortunately, we see a lot of that. And we also have to keep in mind too that Kentucky is an employee at will state, which means they can hire and fire you for whatever reason, as long as it's not based on a protected class. So they could come in and be like, all of you all are fired. And it wouldn't be a violation. It would be completely unfair. Now, if you went in and said, okay, I'm going to fire all the women today and only men get to keep, that clearly would be a violation. But that employee at will doesn't always protect employees or give them the answers to the questions they have when they are terminated.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do think that for them to understand, for those that have access to the website, to understand a victim of a violation would be helpful.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It also could help your workflow.
Well, that's one of the reasons I suggested it. Because like I said, you know, when we get complainants, they didn't know what to do. A lot of people just don't know what to do when they're in these situations and this is happening to them. So if we can, you know, remind them, hey, document your incidents, take down the date, take down the time. Was anybody else around in the room when this was going on? Because those small things can really alter an investigation. And a lot of times we just, you know, our complainants don't think of that, you know, when they're going through these issues.
Thank you, Aaron.
Any other questions?
You're welcome.
Commissioner Cole or Commissioner Frank Smith, yeah, something else?
I'm fine.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Well, all these are great ideas, and I know that Aaron and Terrence will be working on them to come up with some things to make us more effective and address the cases that we have in terms of coming in. Is there any other topic or suggestion that anyone would like to bring to the body? Okay, hearing none, here we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
The second? Okay, I see. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Our next scheduled meeting is March 18th, 2021 at 9 a.m. And as I said earlier, we will be working on having probably a special call meeting before then. So thank you all and have a good rest of your day.
All right. You be safe. Stay warm.
Thank you.